So I'm now joined by Justin Wilkins with the Endowment for Youth. Justin, thanks so much for being here.
Of course.
I know that you were really moved by the session called Using Social Media. I'm wondering if you could tell a little bit more about some of the highlights of that sessions and what some of the primary takeaways were.
Okay. It was based on a book co-authored by Andy Smith called The Dragonfly Effect, and it really was looking at how to effectively harness social media in campaigns for nonprofits, causes, and the power of networking, especially social networking. There was a few takeaway points that were, I think, most important for me. The first would be kind of the perception of nonprofits as business models versus for-profits. When you look at studies done, people tend to describe nonprofits as being warm, comfortable, welcoming, but less effective. Whereas for-profit businesses they see as very efficient but cold. And so why that comes up is when we're marketing our agencies, whether that be through social media, to foundations, to individual donors, to advocate to sell our business like a for-profit. So what he was advocating that we do, nonprofits, when we start these social campaigns, is to sell our nonprofit as a business, but promote it like a nonprofit, meaning to someone who would potentially buy our product or fund or grant. Sell our business model, sell what we're doing, our cause, our mission as a business, to show the business end, empirically validated results, using the proper terminology. But when we're trying to harness support from individuals for in-kind support or donation of time or just to be a believer of the cause or to be a volunteer, we really want to sell it as a nonprofit, meaning using all the nice, warm, fuzzy descriptors, using, instead of statistics, using stories. Another takeaway point he said is that people don't relate to numbers or brochures, they relate to stories. They want to hear something that compels them to be involved, to be part of something great, something that's impactful. So
I can really relate to this message because I understand how much nonprofits just evoke that feeling of comfort and assurance, but you're not always sure when you're working with them, are they always doing it the right way? So could you give me examples of how you might use this and how you would use your own messaging to?
So for example, in our nonprofit, one of our largest programs and longest running is a tutorial after-school program. We work primarily with the lowest scoring students. And if I were to approach individuals to volunteer to read to the kids or to be part of the after-school program, I would use things much more like a vignette, using an example of one of our kids and to really describe the hardships that they face every day, their home environment, the familiar stressors, the social risk factors, as opposed to if I was approaching a foundation to get support through a grant or through a private donation, I would really want to show our outcomes and our measures.
Right.
Our program is effective, and if you look at literacy and numeracy gains, you could see that the methodology that we're employing is effective and it does last, it does make long-lasting change.
So you're obviously using different messages for different audiences.
Correct.
In how you're conveying them. And was there any conversation at all about use of technologies, in use of Facebook, use of Twitter, kind of use of the new media mechanisms that seem to be really out there and prevalent these days?
Yeah. And I think, before I go there with that, there was a few things that he talked about in what the Dragonfly Effect. There's 4 principles, and one of those, the largest ones, was focus and clarity in your message. That really becomes important when you're using new technology like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Audiences will pull away when the message is too long or too saturated with facts or words or descriptors. You want a clear, concise message. Some of the things that he pointed to were the breast cancer awareness. Very concise messaging through Facebook and makes it easy for people to buy in. They don't have to understand perhaps the recidivism rate for cancer or the treatment. They could know that they want to support this in one sentence, and they could link it to their friend who will support it, who will then get it out to their list of friends, who will then get it out to their list of friends.
Sure.
But it has to be a clear, concise message. And one of the other factors that goes into using social media is not just being clear in your message, but clear in your solicitation or your ask, as it was called. It really is better suited for one concerted effort for an agency to employ. So it wouldn't be good necessarily to have a social media campaign for each of one of our 7 programs, but rather we would want to choose maybe our largest annual campaign of the year and really get people out to support through that. It is, something he brought up that I would never have thought of, and I think it was really enlightening for the audience, is the downfall of using social media. When you don't follow the principles of clarity, focus, action-oriented, using social media could actually be a detriment.
Sure.
For a lot of these people, like when we employ our agency through Facebook, for example, a lot of people, this will be the first time they have heard of our agency. What message are they going to get, and who's going to be advocating that message on our behalf? Meaning if I send you a link and I want you to support this cause or support us in this way, and you send it to 50 of your friends, how you describe us or how you link us into that message becomes their first experience with our agency. And now that comes with a lot of responsibility. Do you understand
Sure.
the downfall? And I would have never have thought about that. The other thing is keeping information timely. For nonprofits, we always are doing more with less. That's nothing new. But it has to be updated pretty much up to the minute. It has to be live information. It has to be relevant. Otherwise, people click once and don't come back. Or,
right.
you have to have someone manage that for your agency. And really, if you don't have the proper infrastructure or budget on that, it could actually be a detriment to your campaign.
Right. So can you quickly recap for me? You said there's 4 elements of the dragonfly effect. Could you just quickly recap what those 4 are?
To have good focus.
Right.
To be humanistic, actionable, and have your campaign be testable. How do we know it's going to work? What's going to happen if we do this? To generate attention. To get business people in there. To tell a personal story. And then also to engage your audience. Your story needs to motivate. It's good to tell a nice story and to get people emotional and to get them emotionally invested in your thing, but what is the end goal of that? Motivate them to get active and to support you. And then lastly, take action. How can they go from awareness to feeling an emotional pull to knowing what to do, and how do they actually do it? How do you, as an end user of this social media, become active? How do we make it fun for them? How do we make it easy for them to support us? And there's some of these campaigns that he's alluded to, some of the most popular ones, again, the breast cancer awareness.
Right.
It's fun, it's easy, and the end goal is awareness, and it does that very effectively.
Justin, thank you so much for being here today to talk about social media.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Up next, we've got Eric Talkin from the Food Bank of Santa Barbara County.